Welcome to the UC Davis Continuing and Professional Education Business Analysis Certificate Program Information Session. I'm Michelle Dowling. I'm the program manager, and I'm here to talk to you about the benefits of joining our program. So let's get started. So here's our agenda for today. We're going to go over the $100 discount coupon that you'll get just for attending today's session. So be sure to stick around to the end for that. We're going to go over the job outlook for the field. We're going to hear from one of our instructors. We're going to discuss the program format, discounts, funding options, and finally we're going to talk about some key professional resources. If you have any technical or other issues during the webinar, just go ahead and use your text box, your comment box to let us know. So one exciting perk of joining us for today's webinar is that just for attending, you'll get a $100 coupon towards your first class. So after the information session, we're going to send out an email with a coupon code. And the $100 discount can only be applied to one class in the program. And also, if you're eligible for any of our other discounts, which we're going to talk about later, you'll want to select the discount that's best for you, since UC Davis doesn't allow you to stack discounts. So I want to take a minute to introduce you to our primary contacts in the program. So as I said before, I'm Michelle Dowling. I'm the program manager. Rounding out our program team is Joanna Siebert. She's our associate director. And Heather Ogle, who's here with us today, she's our program advisor. So if you have any questions about your academic progress, enrolling in the program, program details, you can always feel free to contact Heather or myself. Now's a great time to be considering a career in business analysis. As you can see, the Bureau of Labor Statistics categorizes business analysis as a growing field. And it's expected to grow about 14% over this 10-year period. So on average, the annual income for a business analyst in the United States is about $92,000. And of course, this number is going to vary according to industry, location, and your work experience. So I want to take a moment to introduce you to our group of talented instructors. So they are all in senior positions in their respective organizations, and they're all practitioners of business analysis in their full-time jobs. So each of them represents different industries spanning across the public and private sectors, everything from healthcare, media, and information technology. So we're really lucky to have such a highly experienced group of professionals to teach the next generation of business analysts. So we're really fortunate today to be joined by Joy Beecham. She teaches our business analysis planning and execution class, which is the second class in the program. Joy, why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell the students a little bit about your background and some insight into the core concepts that are covered in your class.
Absolutely, thank you. Actually, good morning. I guess it is 11:07. Good morning. So a little bit about my background. I would describe myself as having come to IT in a rather unconventional way, and also to business analysis in a rather unconventional way. I had started my career out as a paralegal and worked almost exclusively in the court systems in California, doing jury trials for a long time, and did not really have any interest in technology except for what I used for my job. And the courts decided that they wanted to update or modernize their case management systems, and they needed people who used them as subject matter experts. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And so I participated in a project a long time ago just to provide my input into what I would want in a case management system as a user. And from there, that was at the trial court level. Eventually, I moved over to the appellate court level, and they similarly were doing a project to update their case management systems. And so I became the resident expert, if you will. And I did go back to school and just got a degree, a business degree in information systems management, because I was getting more immersed into IT at that point. And I actually ended up working as a business analyst for the state of California, the Judicial Council, when they began creating a case management system for the appellate courts in California. And what I learned from that was that we didn't have the answers at that time. And one of my jobs was to collect the requirements for the system, go out and talk to the end users, talk about what was important to them. And I had some credibility because I had been in that position already as an end user, and really developed these requirements and work with a very small team. There were about 6 of us to develop a new case management system and get it out the door. And so that was my first exposure to being a business analyst. And I had, no formal training. It was learn as you go, learn on the job, learn from your mistakes, and, create artifacts as you go, and hope for the best kind of thing. But what I would say that experience really taught me was how much I didn't know about the field of business analysis and the wealth of information that was out there that would have really helped me in that very first project. And so I did go seek that out, and eventually in my current role, I worked for the courts for about 15 years, and eventually I came over to Kaiser Permanente and on a large-scale projects, and eventually moved into the role that I'm in today, which is around mergers and acquisitions. So I don't have a BA title, but I absolutely use every single one of my BA skills in my current role because it's very similar in terms of you need to understand the environment that you're working in. You need to have a very well-defined plan for how you're going to execute integration efforts. You need to be taking into account the various stakeholders and their needs, and really helping transform a business model. And I often say I'm usually the least technical person in the room, but that hardly sways me from being successful in kind of negotiating some of these large-scale initiatives. And so I think those skills, the BA skills themselves, can be a foundation for any career. And I absolutely wish I'd had more formal education before I ran into the BA world, but I leverage it every single day. I want to talk a little bit about the course that I teach and what I try to bring to the course as a professional, but also personally. I was an adult learner, as I mentioned. I went back to USF as an adult, and night classes, working full time and raising a family, and I understand what those challenges, all the challenges that can present. And so what I try to do for the course that I teach, which is the Business Analysis Planning and Execution, the focus of that course is really developing the framework for which all of the analysis activities will be completed in. So it's understanding, defining the techniques you're going to use, the scope of the analysis, the milestones that you will achieve during that analysis, and really the deliverable that you plan to produce at the end of that analysis, and really coming up with that process end to end and getting buy-in for that process before you actually begin the analysis work. And what I try to do to make it interesting for folks is I don't just teach to the book, right? You can do that. We're all adults here. You can read the book yourself. I don't just teach to the book. I use the book as certainly one of the several resources that can help us understand these theories. But oftentimes I try to relate it to things that you are often probably already doing in your daily life that you hadn't realized was analysis work because no one's given you the vocabulary for it, but you are doing a lot of those skills today so that you can recognize, I'm not just teaching you the theory, I'm helping you to apply the theory, and you're understanding, yeah, I actually have done this before. One good example of that might be, I can define, developing a work plan. I can explain what the components of developing a work plan are. But if I ask you to develop a work plan based on, hosting a dinner party and all the different components that you might have to think about when you're pulling together a dinner party, from your guests to your location to your budget, when you start to think about all those component parts and the sequencing of those activities, you can relate to kind of the complexity that could be involved in a work plan for something like a major project or initiative. And so I always try to relate back to something that I think people can relate to in their day-to-day life. I try to incorporate what I call VA in real life in my coursework, so that it is, again, relatable, so that you're not just learning the theory. The other thing I think that is really great about the course is that throughout the program, we're developing artifacts, and I'm sharing templates, I'm sharing real life scenarios that I'm dealing with day to day, and so you're getting a little bit more color and context around what this work is and how these templates support that work and what kinds of decisions you might need to make in that regard. And so that's really one of my core philosophies, is just to make sure that it's relatable, that you can see how you can use this every single day, both professionally and personally. I think I'll pause there. I think those are most of the key points I want to talk about. Okay. I want to give a chance for questions as well.
Well, and Joy, I did want to ask you, do you have any additional advice for students who are considering a career change as a business analyst? We have a lot of students that come from other professions and are looking to move into business analysis.
Absolutely. I consider myself to be one of those folks as well. And I would say what I like about business analysis is I find it's kind of a core or a foundational skill set, right, that you can leverage literally anywhere within an organization. And because what you're learning is critical thinking, analysis, talking to people, problem solving. And no matter what area or industry you're in, those are skills that are highly sought after. If you think about, your ideal leader, right? They're people who can make decisions, who can communicate effectively, that can execute on a plan. And so I think it's an absolute great career choice overall because you can use it in absolutely any industry. Again, I use it in the IT realm, but I'm working with other partners and vendors outside of IT, and I'm still using those skills today. So I think it's a foundational skill set that you can leverage regardless of the industry that you're in.
Okay, cool. And then I guess my last question before we move on is, what would you recommend for students who really want to get the most out of your class? I would say, and this is hard because these are always, self-paced courses are tough and time management can be really tough. And as I mentioned, you're often negotiating, your personal time with your work time and other commitments that you might have. And so kind of the best keys for success are to try to stay on top of the content. I know that's easier said than done sometimes, but don't let yourself get too far behind. And then the other benefit to doing that is if you run into challenges as you're, kind of trying to keep pace, you can check in with the instructor, you can check in with other students, and they're going to understand the context in which you're asking the question. And also it's going to help you be more successful with the assignments that come behind it. I would also say we do have the once a week webinar, the live webinar sessions, which also offer an additional opportunity to certainly ask questions, engage with the cohort, but then you're doing activities in that webinar that reinforce what you're reading in the materials, what your assignments are. And so you're getting some additional benefit for participating in that. And I find that at least the feedback we get is that the students really do enjoy that additional piece of interaction. So success is all about time management. Overall, it's about your time management. Okay, great. So I want to take a minute and talk a little bit about the profile of a business analyst. We get a lot of questions about what does it take to be a good business analyst? Am I a good candidate for the profession? Joy, can you talk a little bit about what you consider kind of the key elements of a successful business analyst?
Absolutely. So I would say first and foremost, you do need to be a people person. Despite the analyst in the title, you are not just sitting in front of a computer all day. You are in fact building bridges, communicating with all different types of people at different levels of an organization. And being an effective communicator is a key component, in fact, a foundational requirement to being a VA. So being able to just talk with people, again, you're oftentimes bridging difficult conversations. So being savvy enough to be a very good listener as well as a very good communicator. I would also say you really do have to have a natural curiosity in terms of being able to do the analysis work. It's not going to be enough, for you to let someone, nobody's going to hand you all the answers. It's never happened to me in my career. In fact, you might get bits and pieces or you might get nothing at all. And so having a natural curiosity, being able to build, being resourceful, where can I get the information that I need? What kind of information do I need? What kind of people do I need to engage to get it? Are there things I've done in the past or someone else has done in the past that I can leverage? So being resourceful, naturally curious, a little naturally skeptical as well. Don't just accept what you get. You want to test it. And that's part of also being an analyst. I would also say that the third one is extremely important. You're often the face of change in an organization. You're the person that they see coming to them, asking them what their business process is like today, and trying to understand how it needs to transform. some people are uncomfortable with change. Everybody isn't, but some people are. And so you may get some resistance because change can be difficult when people don't understand how that's going to impact them long term. And so this gets a little bit back to your people skills, being able to alleviate some of that fear, get folks engaged in participating in something that may change the way they view their day-to-day job, but also being able to communicate the value of that change, why we're doing something, what the benefit is going to be long term. So being comfortable talking to people who might not be comfortable with what you're trying to introduce into their work environment. And then the last one, and these are all extremely important, so the fact that this is last does not make it less important. Just being an independent thinker. You need to be a leader, and I call it a thought leader. You need to be confident that you can go out, get information, analyze it, regurgitate it back in a way that makes sense. So logically, be able to explain the conclusions that you reach, the assumptions that you're making. And you're making a coherent argument about what you've learned and what it means to you and what that information then dictates should come next. It doesn't mean that people are going to always agree with you. In fact, you want some disagreement, right? Because you want people to challenge your thinking, but you need to be confident enough to get out in front and say what your analysis, the conclusions that you've reached based on analysis that you've done. And so it does take a very confident leader as well. So I think that's also an important component.
That's great. Thank you so much, Joy. All right. So I want to take a minute to talk about the difference between the roles of a project manager and a business analyst. So just to clarify, within the structure of a project team, the project manager is the one managing the entire project, while the business analyst works as a liaison amongst the stakeholders, asking questions and sharing the details with the project manager in order to enable the organization to meet its project goals. It's also important to differentiate between business analysis and business analytics. So business analysis, which is what our program covers, is the practice of enabling change in an organizational context by defining needs and recommending solutions that deliver value to stakeholders. So just like Joy said, it's all about change and value. Whereas business analytics involves the examination of an organization's data with an emphasis on statistical analysis. So last year, we had the opportunity to redevelop our business analysis program. We completely updated the content and the curriculum to align with not only the International Institute of Business Analysis, also called IIBA, but the Project Management Institute, or PMI, standards as well as other industry standards that were coming around at the time. So these changes allowed us to maintain our status as endorsed education provider with both of those organizations, to keep current with what's happening in the field, and also to integrate some new technologies into our courses. So I want to take a minute to talk about some of the new technology we use for our courses. So the lessons for each course are done via live weekly webinar over Zoom, which is the platform we're using right now. So this format really encourages participation and interaction, and it allows you FaceTime with your instructor. And what's nice as well is if you cannot make a live webinar one week due to your schedule, you can watch the recording afterwards. So we still provide all the resources. So completing the program, you have several options. So there's two ways. The first way is to take the courses at your own pace. The other option is to do our fast track program. Both options cover the same courses and the same curriculum. So when you complete the program at your own pace, you have up to 5 years to complete all the required courses. You pay and enroll in each course as you go. And you can, of course, complete the program in as quickly as 6 months or as long as 5 years. It's up to you, and you basically are tackling the program course by course. This is an excellent option if your work life or your home life is unpredictable or you have difficulty planning into the future. This way, you're not tying up your money or your commitments in the long term. The Foundations course is the first course in the program, and it's also the prerequisite for the other courses. So while we present the courses as first, second, third, and fourth, There is flexibility in the order of which you take the final 3. So we're next going to be offering the Foundations of Business Analysis this spring. So that would be a good opportunity to start the program. Now, our Fast Track program is a little different. It's really targeted for someone who wants to complete the program in an accelerated fashion. So by enrolling in the Fast Track, you enroll in a set course plan. And that course plan means taking 2 courses per a quarter. And then you complete the entire program, the 4-course program, in just 6 months. So under this arrangement, you are required to pay the full but discounted price of the program upfront. And then the next Fast Track program we're offering also launches this spring. So here's the schedule for our classes. This information is also on our website. And the idea is that once you're ready to enroll, you can enroll online or by phone. If you are interested in doing the Fast Track option, you'll want to make sure to select that specific section, and it's labeled Business Analysis Fast Track. And if you have any questions, you can always contact us. So as you decide which path is best for you, it's important to consider the time commitment. So the Business Analysis Certificate Program, as I mentioned, is made up of 4 classes, and they're all 4 credit units, which is the highest level of credit unit we offer here at Extension. All of the courses are online, and they span approximately 12 weeks. So each class is going to require a commitment of roughly 8 to 12 hours of work per week. So if you're thinking of the Fast Track program, you are done in 6 months, but you're looking at 20 hours of coursework per a week. And so you really want to see if that fits into your lifestyle and your full-time job. So let's take a minute to go over some of the options for financing your education. As we mentioned, there's a $100 discount just for attending today. We also offer 10% off of each class for anyone who's a member of PMI or IIBA. Also, if you're a member of the Cal Aggie Alumni Association, there's a $50 discount per class. And lastly, if your company would like to send 3 or more employees to the program, you can get 10% off all of your tuition. Again, the discounts cannot be stacked, so you want to choose the discount that's best for you. And if you're interested in exploring funding from private loans or government assistance, such as the GI Bill for veterans or the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act for displaced workers, you're going to want to contact Diane Carr, our Student Affairs Specialist. Her contact information is on the screen, and we'll also include that in our follow-up email after the webinar. So one of the value-added benefits of our program is that it provides job placement assistance through Tech Systems. Tech Systems is a national staffing firm that provides temporary to permanent, and permanent opportunities in the information technology field. So as a student of our program, you can take advantage of this great opportunity by simply sending your resume to a special email address the Tech Systems have set up specifically for our students. And once you let them know that you're one of our students and you attach your resume, and talk, maybe in the cover email, talk a little bit about your specific goals, their recruiters will contact you for the next step. So this is a really great resource. Another way to advance your career is through networking. The International Institute of Business Analysts Sacramento Valley chapter offers monthly networking events as well as exam prep resources to help you if you're thinking of taking any of the IABA certification exams, such as the CPAP. So you can join as an international member for $125 a year, and then the local chapter fee is just $35 a year. Right now, IIBA International is offering 50% off membership to celebrate their 15th anniversary. So you want to go to their website for more information on that. I recently attended a really good presentation by the IIBA local chapter about preparing for the professional exams. It was really helpful, and it was a great opportunity to really prepare yourself for that experience. So at this point, I'd like to open up the floor to questions. We are fortunate to have another one of our instructors, Tony Oliver, with us today. So if there's anything about the actual instructor interaction or specific curriculum experience, Tony might be able to chime in as well. Let's see if we have any questions lining up. Okay, it looks like someone's asked, do you have to have any business analysis experience to take the program? You don't. We do recommend you have some college, and we do recommend you have familiarity with business, because we're going to launch into a lot of terminology and concepts about how business is run that you'd want to be familiar with. But we've had people take our program who are career changers who are just business owners. They own their own small business, or they were in real estate and they wanted to get into business analysis. So it doesn't have to be in the tech or healthcare field. Okay, someone else has asked, I work full-time, how many classes should I take each quarter? So traditionally in Extension, we always recommended for full-time professionals to take one course per quarter. Then we had a lot of demand for an accelerated path, so we introduced the fast track. If you're not going to do the fast track and you work full-time, you have a family, maybe some community involvement, I still recommend just that one class per quarter. That's going to be about 10 hours, depending on your level of experience. Even though it's self-paced, you're still going to want to stay organized. You're still going to want to commit that 10 hours a week. There's a lot of reading. There's a lot of videos, a lot of discussions. It's easy to fall behind. So I think, like I said, unless you're committed to the fast track and you know you can handle 2 courses a quarter, our traditional advice is just to take one class per quarter.
We had a couple other questions popping up. Is a bachelor's degree required for enrollment in this program?
Yeah, you don't need to have a bachelor's degree to do the program. You know, we truly are continuing and professional ed. So even though our courses are for academic credit and they're approved by the UC Davis School of Management, we do allow people to come in without a college degree. As I mentioned, we do find people who have some college courses under their belt do perform a little better just because they're used to the concepts of syllabus and instructor interaction. They're used to kind of the complexity of a college level course, but there's absolutely no reason. We have had people who haven't had any college who have succeeded in our program.
Excellent. I have another one asking about, does this program specifically prepare for IIBA and PMI certification? Or what sort of support is there for that?
Yeah, so we always try to clarify that this program is not specifically test prep. So, you know, we offer the foundations of business analysis. We really cover the competencies that are included in both the PMI and IIBA textbooks. Our instructors are often CPAP certified. They can talk to people about that if they're interested. But for that kind of specific exam prep, I really encourage you to join the IIBA local chapter and do their study group. That's full of CPAPs who guide people through the exact information they're going to need and the experience of taking the exam. So you'll want to kind of do those in tandem. And you'll also want to check out the IABA site because there's work experience requirements as well. Oh, go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that one, and this covers both this program as well as the project management program.
Come a little closer to your mic, Tony.
Hold on. There we go. Better.
Yeah.
Is that okay? The tests themselves for either CBAP or the PMP or the PMP PBA, they're really all multiple choice. It's a matter of really applying the knowledge that you've gained. The true beauty of this program, it's not just that we cover those concepts themselves, but we apply them to a wide range of activities. So oftentimes, by virtue of having people from construction, people from real estate, people from IT, people from health, you're able to get that overall perspective. As Michelle mentions, both the IIBA chapter and PMI have a strong network of folks here in Sacramento who would be more than willing to help out. And that ranges from just overall conversations on, hey, how did the exam go? How do you go about doing that? What should I focus on? To the actual preparation itself. And IIBA does have a very comprehensive monthly program to prepare all the students and to prepare all the would-be CBAP takers on that.
Great. We're answering some of your specific questions right online, but any other questions from the group? Okay, one last thing. Is it hard to balance the in-class time and the homework? So this is an interesting program because we've incorporated the live webinars. We're really trying to bring the best elements of the classroom experience, but the flexibility and accessibility of online. So that's one of the reasons we made the very kind of challenging decision to not make the webinar attendance required. We highly, highly recommend that you attend the live webinars. There's a lot of interactive group work that the instructors do. There's information in the webinar that is going to be needed for your assignments and exams that you won't get any other way. But we did allow, because we understood people travel for work, they have commitments, we do allow for people to watch the recording. One thing we are going to do is we do promote the times of the webinars in advance. So when you enroll, you'll be able to see, okay, Joy's class, the webinar is always at 6 o'clock on Fridays, Pacific Standard Time. So this is important too if you're in another time zone. So you want to make sure, okay, I'm going to block that off, make sure I either stay at the office or I get home from work. Some folks do participate on their phones while in transit, but I don't recommend it because you really need a stable internet connection. So even though Zoom is very versatile and can be done on the go, since we do like students to interact during the live lectures, we always encourage people to be at a stable internet connection. Beyond that, I think it's all about pacing yourself. We made the program self-paced because of people's full-time work commitments, but we will constantly remind you, as will your instructors, every week you should be checking in on the homework assignments, the readings, doing some research on your portfolio. So another element of this class that's really cool is, for career changers especially, is we give you a case study through all 4 classes, and you do different aspects of the case study commensurate with the class you're taking. And so when you finish, even though you may not have business analysis experience, you can say to a prospective employer, yeah, but I've done that element. You know, I've taken this specific case and taken it through the steps, and I have a portfolio to present. So those are things you don't want to fall behind in, because you're going to constantly need your classmates and your instructors' feedback, kind of like Joy said, to move forward. And if you try to do the entire class in the last 2 or 3 weeks, you're not going to get any feedback. You're not going to allow time for that growth. And when we see people fail, which is not often, it's invariably because they did not manage their time. Not because they did not have the capability, but because they didn't manage their time.
There's another question here about further questions in the future. You can absolutely use the information that's on the screen right now, or I'm also going to be sending a follow-up email to everybody who's attended. And my personal contact information is going to be in that email, my personal phone number, my email address. So if you come across any more questions, please feel free to use those, and I can help you answer those. And I also work directly with you guys throughout your course through the program. So please feel free to contact me anytime.
Tony, was there anything else you wanted to add, having worked with students in the self-paced program?
You highlighted the most important thing, which is that understanding the pace of the class, and once you log in, you take a look at it. Actually, sample syllabi are available. You don't necessarily need to register. But when you take a look at the class themselves, you'll see the amount of work that is divided across all the different modules. So from that perspective, ultimately you are your own best judge of your time. We are all working professionals and we all have families and so on. So from that perspective, in my experience, having taught in the project management program as well,
So I did also want to address, thank you, Tony. I want to address one other really good question. Someone said, well, when's the deadline to enroll for spring? So we are still fine-tuning the dates. Right now we're looking at starting the spring class in April. So you'll have until the end of March to enroll. But when Heather sends out her follow-up email, she'll put the exact course dates in the email as well as the enrollment deadline. Because the class is online, pretty much we'll take enrollment up until the first few days of class. Your deadline still maintains the same. The class ends on the same date for everyone, no matter when you start, but we'll let you know exactly when you can enroll. And just to also let people know, because this is an investment, especially for the fast track, you are allowed 2 weeks from the start of class to drop the program and get your money back. And all you incur is a $30 administrative fee. Once the 2 weeks have passed, once the class has gone beyond 2 weeks, and also once you've opened module 2, gone beyond the first lesson, you have purchased the class, and you can drop at any time to avoid an undesirable grade, but you will not get your money back. So it's a 2-week refund period. So I really encourage people, once you enroll, Go in there, poke around, look at the syllabus, look at the class, talk to your instructor, make sure you're in the right program, make sure that it suits your needs and your schedule, because that's your period to kind of check out the class and withdraw if you need to. And you can do that in those first 2 weeks online, the same way you registered, or you can always contact us if you have any issues with the website or just want a quick answer.
That looks like it.
Yeah, all right. So as Heather said, she's going to be sending out an email probably in the next week, and we'll also have this recording posted on our website in about a week. So if any of your colleagues or friends couldn't make it, they can always watch the video version of this recording. They won't get the discount coupon, of course, but they can certainly get the information. Also, she'll include her information and Diane Carr, the special funding staff member. So if anyone has any questions about that type of thing, you'll know who to contact. And we just encourage you to follow up with us if you have any questions. And we're really excited to see you in our program. So thanks so much for attending.
Thanks, guys.